Welcome back to the Business Ally Spotlight. And today I have with me Lisa Henkel from LineLeader. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lynn. Thanks for having us.
Very happy to have you here. I've been looking forward to this conversation for several reasons. One is the benchmark report that was completed that I cite frequently, and we'll get into that in a minute. But LineLeader does a number of things. And if you could first just introduce yourself, your role, and a bit about the company for those that don't already know about you.
Absolutely. My name is Lisa Henkel, and I am the Vice President of Customer Operations here at LineLeader. LineLeader may not be as familiar to some people as our previous brand name, which was Childcare CRM. What makes me unique in my position is that previous to being here on the tech and assistance side of childcare, before this, I was an operator. And so I was out there every day. I was an assistant teacher, a teacher, a district manager, a COO, and I get it. When I'm looking at what our product offers, I'm looking at it in that lens and with that filter of how does this work for people in the field who are using it every day. So just in case some of the listeners need a history lesson, LineLeader, formerly Childcare CRM, has been in business for about 15 years. We operate across the globe, and we help people capture and manage their inbound prospect family information. We help automate the marketing that goes out to them, which encourages enrollment. We digitize the registration process, and all of that improves the enrollment journey for the parent and ultimately the conversion percentage, the amount of enrollment that the centers can have. About 2 years ago, we launched a combined effort. We merged with another company so that we would also offer center management pieces, that being the attendance, the billing, the compliance pieces with reporting. All of those things are in our center management app then. Along with that center management app comes, the obvious parent engagement. So we need a way. It's really important for us. We do what we do fantastically every day. We've got to get that outside of the buildings, outside of the box. We need to include others in that. And so the engagement with parents is the way to do that. We have a lot of features that are compliant related in that app. We can do face-to-name checks. We can authenticate and validate check-ins and checkouts with QR codes and with PIN codes and make sure that we're where we need to be on all of those things. We are looking to, our motto is we power the business of childcare. And that's what we're looking to do. We are looking to make sure that we get tools into the hands of operators that are going to be beneficial, efficient, and compliant for them.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that history lesson. And depending upon when somebody's listening to this,
yes.
Parenthetically, I would add that, yes, you've grown tremendously. And one of the things that we look at the Compliance Alliance is utilization of technology. So one of the first questions I ask is, what's in your tech stack? And let's say in this case, they say, oh, we're using LineLeader. One of my next questions is, when was the last time you had an update on product capabilities and roadmap? And the reason I mention that is sometimes and the benchmark report actually talks about this as it does in other sources, sometimes our technology is underutilized.
You're being very generous by saying sometimes.
Okay, very often it is.
Look, we are a notoriously low-tech industry.
Yes.
We understand that.
Yes. So with that, that's why I ask that question, because I often hear things like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, when did they add that capability? And as good as your communication might be out to the industry or to the customers, they don't always have a chance to read it or engage with it. So that's one of the things we do as part of our compliance assessment is what's in your tech stack that's assisting you in this journey to make sure that you're following best practice and so forth. So that's probably a topic for another time, but I loved hearing you share the update on that. And even when somebody's listening to this at a future time, they should be asking, what else is new? Because you're always adding new capabilities. So thank you for that, Lisa.
Sure. When we can circle back to that, we have a whole department that is customer success. And what they do is regularly meet with customers and say, okay, we have features A through Z and you're only using A through G. Let's get you on the rest of this map here. Let's get you really using that text. So would love to have those conversations when you have a chance.
Definitely. That would be, I think, a combination of compliance and technology adoption, because there's so much that goes hand in hand there. So thank you for that. So let's shift a little bit into today's conversation. I want to understand from your perspective, what would you define as a number one critical business issue that the early education industry is facing, perhaps with a lens toward compliance? What is it that you see, and how would you address that, or share what you're hearing?
People who've been through training with me before, my personal motto, what kind of keeps me going, is no money, no mission, right? We all have a mission here. We all want to provide quality care. We cannot do that without resources. Doesn't matter if you're for-profit, nonprofit, you need resources, right? You need to pay teachers what they deserve to be paid. You need materials in your classroom. So I think one of the things, there's two big things that I would hit on for this particular critical business issues. One is disorganized and low enrollment. We're not salespeople traditionally within the industry. We kind of don't understand how we should be moving parents along in that enrollment journey. That's what our software does. We provide those best practices. Again, we've got 15 years under our belt of looking at how do parents register. And so rely on that software if you don't know yourself. Excuse me, that is fine. The other thing that I would say, besides, disorganized, low enrollment, people don't have time to focus on that. We want to give them the tools to do that. I say staffing and resources. I would be hard pressed to speak to any person within ECE or within childcare who doesn't note that staffing is a challenge for them. And so, again, I would push back and say, let's get tools in our toolbox here that help us to have more time to dedicate to staff. So if I'm not spending 26 hours a day on compliance measuring on paper and pencil with a clipboard, and I could do that with a technology tool, let's do that so that we free that time up to be supportive of staff, to be in our recruitment efforts, the day-to-day things that we're going to be more efficient in, because we can be efficient in a smaller area.
I appreciate that, because when we're talking with the same clients, it's oftentimes they don't know what they don't know until it's a problem. So let's give a real example: enrollment paperwork or staff onboarding. And if pieces of that are missing, you can probably finish the sentence with me, but if pieces of that are missing, what could it potentially point to down the road?
Yeah.
A licensing citation.
Absolutely. What we all imagine as the nightmare, that when the licensing specialist comes in and pulls 26 files instead of a random 2, and they start going through. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, Lynn. Let's get the tools that make that easier. Let's digitize those enrollment forms. First of all, our parents are millennial parents. When they come in and you hand them 13 pieces of paper on a clipboard, they're like, what is going on? It also makes them question how you're going to handle the introduction of technology to their children. And so, they're expecting digitized forms. When they go to the dentist, when they go to the pediatrician, that's what they have. And so why are we so far off base? And not just that parent experience, but let's talk about it from a compliance standpoint, right? How many times has that parent been filling out the paper, doesn't know the answer, and so they just put in a scribble and pretend like they filled it in. And then, a week later, you're looking at that paper, you're like, what does that say? I don't even know what that name is. When you digitize these processes, you increase your data integrity. You can say, this is a required field. You don't get to move on until we have this particular information. Hey, we need 3 emergency contacts. Let's make sure you have all 3 listed here, as opposed to you turning in a paper that only has 2, and then I have to chase you down 3 days later to get that 3rd emergency contact. So really embracing technology as a resource and a solution to some of these compliance issues that we see.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth putting a fine point on this as well, that this isn't a issue for large organizations or small organizations. It's an issue regardless of the size of your school, your program, whether you're franchise or corporate or privately owned, single center, smaller locations. we're humans, so certain things fall through the cracks, but as you're pointing out, it's digitizing it in a way that you can catch those things before they become problematic down the road.
Yeah,
Worst case
absolutely.
scenario, even like, let's say you needed 3 emergency contacts and you've only got one, and you only discover that when you need the backup emergency contact. Again,
Right.
those are real life examples that unfortunately do happen that are preventable.
Absolutely.
Okay. I would love to go further and further into this, but anyhow, I was going to say about the size of the organization, that was a big piece of it. But let's shift again for the interest of this interview. Why did you decide to become a business ally with the Compliance Alliance?
We power the childcare industry. We power the business of childcare, and part of a childcare business is compliance. For me, for our organization, quality care is compliant care. And so we needed to find ways to make sure that our software is not only doing things like helping the parents check in and check out, but it's doing it in a way that licensing would accept those, that a digital copy of a PIN number and that's verified with a login, that all of these things meet those compliance objectives. About earlier this year, we actually partnered with One Place so that they are able to take the information that's in our system, go back and forth across those systems and make sure that we have all of those I's dotted, T's crossed, that we are compliant in every way that we can. And we're using all of the tools at our disposal to make sure that we're having that happen. So I think it's a natural partnership. You know, when we look at the things that we're trying to do to elevate ECE and childcare, you're doing the same. And so we find common ground and we want to explore that together.
And we appreciate coming alongside with the voice. What I'm also seeing is a fair amount of education is going on around what compliance is. So we have brand compliance, we have regulatory compliance, we have quality compliance, financial compliance. All of these married together are what really represent best practice. And I know that LineLeader offers quite a bit across those different disciplines, not just in terms of regulatory, although that's where we've parked for a bit, but it also plays to financial compliance, which is another big piece of it as well. And the data to be able to see what are your trends, where are your gaps. Anything you want to add to on that comment?
I think you sort of married two comments there, because when you're talking about like a brand compliance and financial compliance, you're talking about organizations that are maybe franchise owned versus a single site with a single owner. I think that the important thing to know is that there's a solution for all of those people.
Yes.
You know, if you're looking for brand compliance and you want to make sure that the emails that were sent out to prospective families include all of the appropriate branding, we've got that in Enroll. But if you are looking for licensing compliance or maybe financial compliance, we can integrate with some financial systems. We can make sure that your reporting is in such a way that you understand it and that it can accomplish those compliant pieces as well with bankers or franchisors or whoever might be looking at those additional pieces.
Agreed. Well, as we wrap up today, I want to get to know you a little bit better and just some fun questions for you. I conclude all of my interviews with this, so we're just going to get a glimpse into what Lisa prefers. So,
all right.
Here we go. Morning or evening? Sunrise, sunset, what are you and why?
If it comes to getting my kitchen cleaned, definitely morning. I'm an early riser. I like to get that done in the morning. But if it's at night, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide till the next morning. So I would say early to mid-morning is my peak there.
Awesome. And then how about mountains or lakes?
I would go lakes. I know people usually throw beaches in there. I am not a beach person. So lakes is probably where you would find me.
Is there a particular part of the country that you would want to go visit a particular lake?
No, I really prefer the city. If you wanted to find me someplace and you're like, what's your favorite place? I would be in New Orleans. I just love the whole NOLA vibe. If I had to say, okay, let's take a continental vacation here, I would head down there.
That's fantastic. I just learned something new about you for sure. And then last one is dog or a cat?
I am a sucker for a rescue. I have 5 rescue dogs at home, so absolutely dog.
And you got to share the dogs' names.
Sure. So one of the organizations that we work with is called Island Dog Rescue. And they specifically, this is terrible, but there is a place in Puerto Rico called Dead Dog Beach where dogs are frequently abandoned. And so they scoop them up from there and send them over here. They've got a partnership with Southwest and American Airlines where they fly the dogs in if they're doing local flights. So we have 2 from Puerto Rico. That's Chucho, which means mutt in Spanish,
Okay.
and Diego. And then we have some other rescues that are more local. I've got Tucker, named after the greatest NFL kicker of all time, Justin Tucker. Baxter, because at one point we were really into Anchorman, so we wanted to name the dog Baxter. And then Daisy, she's the little tiny one, and she's all white and fluffy, and we thought she was going to be petite and cute like a daisy, and she is still cute, but she rules the roost. She doesn't take anything from anybody.
See, there's such personalities in our pets, but also the names that we choose for them. I love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Lisa, thank you for your time today. We look forward to having you and the others from Line Leader join us in future episodes. And thank you for your partnership. And we look forward to working together.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.